everyone. Oh my goodness, this feels so strange. At the moment I've got 21 people watching. Hi everyone. Oh, it's really cool to see all these comments coming in. I just need to get myself sorted so I can see everything all at once. Okay. Hi Hannah. Oh, hi Rosalind. That's my mum, by the way. So hi mum. And what we've got, I just heard my voice coming through the speaker. That was really weird, so I've just closed that off. We've got Yenna. Hi, Yenna. Rosie, that's somebody from Watercolour Club. So that's really amazing. Thank you for tuning in, Rosie. Andrew Davis from Axminster. Hi. 22 Sazzy. Hello. Gemma. Oh my goodness. It's amazing seeing you all here. So, by the way, if you want to comment into the live chat, I can see what you're saying. It's a little bit of a delay, but I will reply when I see what you've said. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that you guys are tuning in today. I hope I do this correctly. I am surrounded by cameras and cables and wires. I've not actually got a lot of room to move around, but I'm going to do my best, and hopefully you guys have all got a little bit more space at home to do some painting. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Eleanor Brake, and I'm an artist. I live in Plymouth. Mostly what I do, it's not really watercolour painting, so I do a lot of contemporary art, a lot of stuff that you might come across if you were out on the street and it was like a public performance, that kind of thing I do. But I got really interested last year in doing a bit more painting, just for the fact that I enjoyed doing it, and I started doing lots of paintings of churches and things like that. Hi Ben, that's I was just about to say that why I do churches, that is a good timing. So I'm also a bell ringer. Ben's also a bell ringer and also does drawings of churches, so that's really cool. So I got into bell ringing, I got into watercolour painting of the places I was going to bell ring at, and then I just started doing it a little bit more regularly. Then this year I decided to start up a watercolour club. And I call it Watercolour Club for people who don't paint, hoping that it would attract people that don't think they can paint, but actually they can. And it's actually been really amazing to see what people can do if they're given the paints and the paper and just sort of told to go and play, have some fun with it. And it's Sarah from P-Wise. See, I didn't recognise 22 Sazzy, so P-Wise is a bell ringing group that I'm part of. Hi, Sarah. It's just so amazing seeing like everybody all at once in the same place. It's amazing. Okay, cool. I can't remember what I was saying. I'm really nervous, by the way. So this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So that's probably why I'm really nervous. Anyway, so that's about me. So Watercolour Club, obviously we were meeting up in Plymouth before all of this happened. So I kind of wanted to keep that going in some way, just to bring everybody together and do a little bit of painting. When we're all stuck inside. I think art is going to be really helpful for a lot of people right now when the weather's so beautiful outside, really inspiring, but we can't really go out there very much and enjoy it, so maybe we can bring it into our homes a little bit. So, first of all, I think I'll show you what I've got to work with today. So, I have a jar of water. That's very important when you're painting with watercolours. So, the other important thing is watercolour paints. So say I'm using a tin of paints. You might have some tubes, that's fine, as long as you've got a palette to put them onto. So you can get watercolour paints in these little pans like this, which is what I've got, or just tubes. And you only need a little bit if you're working with tubes, just a tiny little bit on the palette is fine. I've got a selection of brushes, but I'll only be using two. So I'll probably use this small, if I can get it, a small brush here, and I haven't decided yet, but one of these two for the larger brush. But if you've only got one brush, that's fine. We'll just work with what we've got. I've also got some watercolour paper. I've chopped mine down to quite small because I quite like to play on smaller pieces of paper because then if I do make a mistake, I've not wasted a lot. And also, I think they're quite nice as little postcard things. You can get more done if you do that. So if you've got a big piece of paper, what you could do is chop it in, either chop it into 4 or draw some lines, like four lines, so that you've got 4 quarters, and then you can have 4 different goes on the same piece of paper, and maybe cut them out later. So there you go. I've also got some masking tape. I didn't put that on the list of stuff that you might need, and it is optional. So I'm going to use it because when you're looking at what I'm doing, I'm going to be putting a lot of water on the paper, and it will curl up and it will curl away from the camera, which would be really annoying. So I'm going to take mine down. It also has the benefit of leaving like a little border around the edge, which is quite nice when you take it off. Okay, so I'm going to try a thing where I can get it so you can see what I'm doing from this camera behind me. The problem with it is that there's a slight lag on that camera, but I think we'll work with it. I think it'll be fine. But if it's too bad, then I don't know, I'll just have to do something strange with this bit here. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. So I'm still down here in the corner, so you can see me from the side. And then you should be able to see my piece there. And you can see all my bits of paper that I've prepared. And you can see a little preview of what we're going to be trying to do today. So this is quite a simple little forest scene. And the idea is that the trees in the front look darker and have more details, and the tree at the back are lighter and they blend back into the sky. So I'm just going to show you how to get that kind of effect. And you can do that with anything. You can do that with mountains coming forward or cornfields, things like that. So it's quite a nice technique. But we'll try it with trees to begin with. So I'll put that over there. Might refer to it later. Never know. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is take my piece of paper down, just so it doesn't go flying everywhere. Okay. So how's the lag thing going? Is that working, or just let me know if there's any problems seeing what I'm doing. So when I'm taping my paper, I put half onto the paper at the top there and then half onto the board, and I think that looks all right. I'll put one at the bottom. The trick is to try and keep it quite straight so that when you take the border off, you don't find you've got like a wonky line, which is really annoying after you've done loads of hard work on your painting. Well, that's my brother saying hi from Dad and Maggie. So hi, Benjamin, Dad and Maggie. Glad you're tuning in. Okay, a bit of lag, but not much. Thanks, Hannah. Okay, hopefully we can work with that then. Brilliant. So I'm just getting my border on. So if you're choosing to do this, what I'd recommend once you've got to this point is to just run your finger along all of those edges and make sure they're nice and tight. Just because when we start putting the water on, if any seeps in there, then you'll end up with the paint running in underneath the masking tape. So you want to make sure that that's really nice and tight. And I think that is. I've probably done that a bit too much, but there we go. Cool. So the next step, I'm going to prepare my paint. So I'm going to use probably one of these paintbrushes I said I wasn't going to use actually. But there we go. I'm going to get a little bit of water, and I haven't put anything on my page yet because I want to prepare the paints first. And I'm going to be using 2 colours, and you can use any 2 colours that mix well. So you could use red and blue, for example, to make like a purple scene. I'm going to be using blue and yellow, which you'll probably remember from school makes green, so I want some nice green trees for my first one. So what I'm going to do with my nice wet brush is get some yellow, quite a lot of it, and pop it down on my palette here. There we go. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Cool. And then I'm going to wash my brush off, and I get some blue, and rather than mixing it into that yellow, I'm going to put it beside it. So make sure you've got lots of pigment onto the brush when you're doing that. And I've just put it beside it. So if you're working with tubes, just set your palette up like that. So you've got the two colours you're going to be working with quite close together on the palette. And I've decided I'm going to use a bit more blue than I'm using yellow, just because I like that kind of bluey green that we've got. So with that painting there, if you can see it, it's kind of bluey green. So I've put some more blue on the palette than yellow. And the next bit I'm going to do is I'm just going to very slightly blend the yellow into the blue there like that. But I'm not going to mix it completely. I'm just going to let it go in. And what that will do is when I come to pick up the colour, it won't always be the same colour, and trees are never the same colour, so you end up with a bit of a variation then. So that's ready to go, and I'll put that down, wash off my brush and put that away. So I think I've made a decision now. I'm going to use this brush. I'm using a brush by Da Vinci, which I got for Christmas. It's in a beautiful set. It comes in this amazing little box. You see that? There you go. And it, if I can get it open. Yeah, so I have 4 brushes that come in that set, and it's got a little thing of soap. So it was one of my absolute favourite Christmas presents this year, and they're really lovely brushes. But yeah, any brush will do. My water's already gone green. So the first thing to do is to get your brush really nice and wet, and we're going to put a layer of water onto the page, so from top to bottom. Okay, we're going to make the paper quite wet, because what we're going to do is let the water carry the paint around. And so we want quite a lot of water to do that. So I've gone down that a few times, just spreading that water out. And you can tell when it's ready, because if you look at it from the side, you can see like a light sheen on the surface there. And that means that there's enough water covering the whole surface. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to come in quite quickly with the paint. So this is why we prepare the paint early. So that it's ready to go. So I'm going to just take from this blue side, from this edge here, load it up on my brush and pop it across the top there like that. And you should see it start to spread out gently. Yeah, it's quite relaxing, I think, watching the paint spread out and just doing stuff that you don't actually have much control over. And you can't predict it, so you end up I get really hypnotised by it. It's cool. So I'm going to leave the sky really, really simple, because the trees are the main thing for this painting. So the sky I've just put quite dark at the top, and it just let it fade as it goes down, which looks really nice. But then what I'm going to do is get some more blue there. And I'm going to put it on the bottom, because that's where the ground will be. So I want that to be darker. So if I put some there already. So then what I should end up with is a light blue sky going into a lighter bit, and then going down into a darker bit again. And so hopefully you're getting that effect as well if you're painting along at home. Who's painting along at home, by the way? It'd be really cool to know if anyone's actually doing this along with me. Or are you going to watch back and do it again later? Who knows? Okay. Cool. So now that the paper is wet and we've got the layer on, which is the sky and the ground, so that's the furthest layer away from us that we're looking at this scene. Going to pick up my small paintbrush, which is also from the Da Vinci set, and Andrew and Gemma are both painting away at home. That's brilliant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some paint with my little brush. Oh, and Hayley. Hi, Hayley. And while this is still wet, we have an advantage that if we paint anything on, it's going to spread out still. So this is still wet. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some trees, and the trees are going to go in the background, so they're going to be really light. So I'm going to actually try and zoom in a little bit, see if you can see what I'm doing. That's okay. So to do a tree, we're going to do a line down and then zigzaggy lines left to right all the way down like that. And then each time I do a tree, I wet my paintbrush again, I pick up another bit of colour, so I mix around and I've made a new colour, and I draw a line down and then wiggle it down like that, and then wash my brush off. And it's a bit of a, you get into a bit of a pattern with it. So I'm going to do some on this side as well, so line down and then wiggle down like that. And what will happen is the wet background will drag that paint a little bit further. So, and as this dries, it'll also dry lighter. So these trees will look like they're really far away and they're almost blending in with the sky. So I'm going to draw another tree and wiggle down like that. So you can see the trees are all different colours because of this way I've put my paint on the palette like that. So also trees are not the same colour, but they're also not the same height, and they don't always grow straight. So you can have trees that are slightly bent. Let's have a sort of slightly one that's been blown by the wind perhaps, so the stalk goes down like that and then like that. And that's just how forests grow. They're not nice and orderly. I draw one there. There we go. Quite happy with this actually. Get a slightly yellower one I think, so just dragging some yellow in from this corner and then down and wiggle. There we go. So I've got a nice little line of trees. Zoom back out. Oops. Cool. So when you've got your line of trees like that, the next bit is sadly we have to wait for this to dry. If you're at home and you have a hairdryer, that can be a good way to speed that up. But one of the things when you're painting with watercolour is it's very important to be able to be patient enough to wait for the layers that you're happy with to dry, because if we start painting into this layer, it will just blur into one. I make that mistake constantly. I'm probably likely to make that mistake today, so I'm kind of reminding myself as well that I need to wait now. So I'm going to turn this back to point at me, which I think I click that. There we go. That's good. Right, and what I thought, while we're waiting for my painting here to dry and get ready for the next layer, I thought I would see who's here and try and catch up with some of the comments that are coming through. So if you have any questions, now is the time. I'm just going to put my palette over there so I haven't got room to move around. It's really strange. So we have Yenna and Mum are both painting at home. That's brilliant. And Rosie and Jack is painting at home for the first time ever. Now that's pretty cool, because I know that's a fact as well, because Jack's just sent me a message about half an hour ago saying that his paints had turned up, had arrived. So that's good. So that is the first that brand new watercolour paints have turned up in the post, and Jack's having a go at home. So I hope that's going well for you, Jack. What would be really nice if people can send me photos of what you're doing at home. You can send them to me on Facebook, or you could send them to my email. So my email address, there's a link to my website in the description. If you go on my website and you go into contact, there is my email address there. I'll probably post it up as well so that you can send me emails with pictures of you guys at home watching. Apparently we have 41 viewers at the moment. That is absolutely amazing. yeah, that's incredible. I can't imagine what that would be like if we were all in Ocean Studios right now. Probably quite crowded. Um, Zoe says, I'm painting at home using the radiators to dry it. That's a really good idea. And if anyone else also has really sunny weather right now, uh, any windowsill would probably dry it as well. Okay, so Ben is asking, is it the same process when you use pencils? Keep adding layers of pencil on each layer. Oh, that is a really good question, and I'm not sure that I could accurately answer you. I've used watercolor pencils, but usually to add a bit of detail on the top. So I think that it is a slightly different process. Although I have seen a technique with watercolor pencils where you sharpen the pencil and you use a wet paintbrush and you get the paint off of the pencil like that. And if you do that, then you end up basically with, it's very similar to watercolor paint, but you also end up sort of washing away the lead quite quickly. I know that technique because my mum used to do it. So if you're still watching, you might be able to answer Ben's question there about watercolour pencils. You might have some more techniques. So Hayley's put her painting to dry in the window. That's good. I'm going to give mine a little tap to see how. Yeah, mine is really quite wet still, so we're gonna wait. Although I did do a thing, and I'm gonna be able to hear all of my friends laughing at me when I say I prepared this earlier. So I feel like a real TV presenter. Right, I'm gonna put that there. So I can show you what we'll do next in a second. So Rosie says, can you say more about mixing the colours? Yours seem to be one tone, mine's coming out. Okay, yeah. So, Rosie, if you are using, where did I put my paintbrush? See, this is the problem. I might have to, my paintbrush has rolled away. I'll use a different one. Okay. So what colours are you using? Which yellow? So I'm using, so these are Daniel Smith watercolour paints. And I'm using a Hansa yellow, which is like a medium yellow, and a cerulean blue. I don't know how to say these colours very well. So not yellow ochre. So yellow ochre has quite a lot of brown in it. So I don't actually have a yellow ochre on my palette, but it's more close to that colour, or possibly this one is yellow ochre. So it is actually quite important when you can play about with the different colour mixtures, but this yellow is quite a bright yellow. If you've got one called like a medium yellow or something like that, that works quite well. And the blue is also quite important because I'll just show you. If I use this blue here, which is a lot darker, I think it's I don't know, I need to look at my little thing. It's not ultramarine. Oh, it's phthalo blue. If I mix that in, I get this kind of darker, which is quite a nice colour. I like that, but I much prefer this sort of green that's happening here. So yeah. I don't know if that helps. I know if anybody's painting using blue and red, there's a common thing that can happen where people use this very bright red and try and mix it with a blue. But the problem with that is that a very bright red has quite a lot of yellow in it, actually. So when you start mixing, so if I go for it and do it, if I mix that bright red with my blue that I'm using over here, it kind of makes this brown. Don't know if you can see that. It's just quite a muddy purple, and that's because it's got too much yellow in it. Yes, lemon yellow is probably going to work really nicely for you, Rosie. I'm glad that's helped. But if you're working with purple at home, if you use more of a rose colour, so this is called, I think it's called quinacridone rose. So any rose or crimson colour, you put that down. So it's much more pink. And then if you mix that with my favourite blue, you get a beautiful purple. And that's much more like if you compare, if I put that next to that's so much nicer. So it's to do with the colour wheel. So if you mix too many colours together, you're ultimately going to get brown and a muddy kind of colour. So keeping the colours, so yellow and blue are quite pure colours, making sure that they've not got any other colour added to them. So yellow ochre with the brown and red sorts of colours mixed in, you'll end up with a muddy kind of green. I hope that helped. Cerulean blue, it's my favourite blue, honestly. It's so lovely. And it makes a really nice teal colour as well. So the little background thing that I did for Watercolour Club, I mixed that out of a cerulean blue. Got a message from Margaret Fusey, Rebecca and Margaret having a go at home up in Shiplake. That's amazing. And Andrew Davis is saying, I'm trying to follow the Bob Ross rule of no mistakes, just happy accidents. And that is absolutely key here, I think. So when we're painting, especially with watercolours, things go wrong. And it's kind of just enjoying it, really. At the end of the day, if you wanted a really nice painting for your house, you'd probably ask somebody to do it or go and buy one. But actually, when you're painting, it's more about the fact that you're doing that. You're spending some time with trying to recreate a picture or trying, and it's really counterproductive to get frustrated. And a lot of people try to make things look exactly like a photo, but actually, all those little bits that go wrong are kind of part of it, I think. Rosie started again. That's absolutely fine. I've cut myself so much paper because I didn't expect my first one to go right, because I'm really shaking quite hard because of the amount of cameras around me and things like that. So that's absolutely fine to start again, and you can do this several times during this video if you want to. So mine is almost there, but I'm going to let it go a bit further, because if I rush this, then we're going to have a mess. So I'm going to show you the one that I made earlier, which isn't as good, I don't think, as the one that I just did. So that's kind of nice. Right, so let me put it back to... I've lost my button. There we go. Alright, so popping that on there like that. Okay. So this is where it gets a bit more technical. I don't know where my paintbrush went. I'm really confused. I found it. It's fine. The whole time it was just in my palette. Okay, right. So, you've got your nice background with your trees. If you guys have hair dried yours, then you'll be able to do this bit along with me. If you want to wait, then you can do it again when I get on to doing mine, which I'm letting dry naturally. So obviously that will be different. Everybody's houses are going to be a different kind of speed in terms of how long it takes to dry a watercolour painting. So now that the background is dry, if we add any more onto that, it's not going to blur back into the background. Kate says, by the way, painting along with my 3-year-old, it's not going according to plan. Oh dear. Hi Kate, by the way. So I used to work with Kate in a cats protection charity shop, so really nice to see you again. Don't worry if it's not going to plan. 3-year-olds just love making lots of mess and being happy and creative. So if you're doing that, then you're doing it right. Okay, so I'm going to get some paint onto my brush. It's the same thing where every time I come to mix, I'm picking up a slightly different colour. Make sure your brush is sort of wet, but I think that was too wet. I think I also need a bit more blue on my palette, so I'm hesitating because I know as soon as I start painting I'm going to make a mistake. So, okay, so I'm mixing it through, picking up a green that I like, and now I'm going to do the same sort of thing that I did in the background, but this time, because the water's not going to take that paint away, I have to be a little bit more precise. So I'm drawing a tree, so I'm going to go from this side all the way down, same technique as earlier, and then this time I'm going to pull the paint outwards like that, and then outwards like that. It's a little bit hit and miss, and what you need to think about is that this is the first layer of the tree, so you can go back over that, and you're just sort of telling yourself where the tree is going to be. So if it doesn't quite go to plan the first time, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to draw another tree. Again, remember that trees come at different heights. You've also got your trees that you did in the background, and you don't want to cover them up. So if you've got one that you really like, try to not draw a tree over it and sort of let it peep out from behind one. So I'm just going like that. My paintbrush is a little bit dry, so you can see what's happening. It's sort of leaving lots of gaps. So I'm going to just add a bit of water to my brush. There we go. And this is called the wet on dry technique, and it just allows you to have a little bit more control over the paint. So same again. Keeps going really, really dry, so I have to keep picking up the water from my jar and making it go a bit further. That's good. This almost looks quite wintry, this one, which is not how it looks out the window. There we go. Gone quiet because I'm concentrating. So, I think it's looking okay, but just takes a few goes going through it. I've done a few practice goes of this, and it kind of, it's really, some of them come out okay and some of them don't, and I think it's because it just depends where you put the trees and how the colours come out. So it's an unpredictable way of doing it, but actually they look really nice as a set. So I did a few. I'll put it next, once I've done this one, I'll put it next to the other one that I did, I showed you at the beginning. They look quite nice as a little like almost postcard set or something like that. Let's see. There we go. Cool. I'm going to do one more that goes up there like that. Painting down the side, painting down the other side. Cool. And you can see what's happened is the paint has dried back a little bit. So you've got like quite a lot of lighter bits in the trees. Some darker bits where I put a bit more ink on. That one's like got half green and half blue, so not sure quite what happened there, but that's okay. So the next bit I'm going to do while we're at this stage is I'm going to draw in the ground at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is pick up a bluey green that I like, quite a strong one. So when I say strong, I mean not very much water compared to the amount of paint you've got on your brush. And I'm not going to draw a straight line because the ground in nature is never straight. So here we go. I'm just going to do a bumpy line, and I do that personally by just holding the paintbrush back a bit further than normal, and it means that the line ends up being quite shaky, and I lose a bit of that control. So as I paint across, I keep running out of paint on my brush. Go. Da, da, da. Cool. Okay. So there we go. It's not quite finished yet, but I can compare it to that one and show you what I meant about. Oh, whoops! Let's do it actually on camera, shall we? There they kind of look nice, like a little set. Okay. So, cool. This one's ready to go. So if anybody's been waiting, it might be time. So just tap the painting with the back of your hand to find out whether it is dry enough. If you can't feel any dampness, then it's ready to go. If you can, I'm sorry, but you might need to wait a little bit longer. But I think we should all be fine by now. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. So I'll talk you through it again, just in case you weren't having a go last time. But first of all, I'm just going to load my palette up again, because as you can see, I've used up most of my paint. So I'm going to pop some blue back on that side, over there. Wash my brush, and get a little bit of yellow, and pop it over there. It's probably not enough. More of that. There we go. Cool. And then let's pull those together. Just like that. Cool. Right. Now I have to try not to ruin this one as well. So, pressure's on. Okay. So, just to remind you, I really like that tree, by the way. So I'm not going to do a tree right on that outside. I'm going to leave that one peeking through, and I'm going to do a tree in front of it down here. A line down, and then little leaves coming out. And these are like pine tree, Christmas tree. I think that's why it looks so Christmassy. Maybe I should try a different type of tree. It does look like a little forest, like a maybe this one looks a bit more summery actually, because I've used quite a bright green there. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I didn't follow my plan then. I just started going for it. So down, and then pull the paint to the sides like that. Lovely stuff. I quite like that one actually. I like it when they don't look perfect as well. Like I really like when the trees are slightly wonky and they've got a bit of character to them. I think that makes them all the more special. So I'm going to do a wonky tree here. A bit more green. And so I've got a watermark on mine here. I don't know if it is a watermark, but it's basically where, oops, I've moved the camera. That was not meant to happen. But it's basically where I leant that other one up against this while it was still wet. So I've got a gap here. So I'm going to try and cover that up by doing a tree right in the middle of it. Is anyone having success? Pleased with what they're doing at the moment? Because hopefully you are. It'd be good to know if you've got any questions or something that's not quite working. It'd also be really interesting to hear if anyone's used any other forms of art to keep themselves busy at home while all of this is going on. So I think there's so many forms of being creative. Yenna's trees are floating. Yeah, that's a common problem for background trees. They do like floating. Just make sure when you draw your front ones on that you go up as far as those floaty ones stopping, so that you've covered them up and they look like they're behind the trees in front. Yeah, I have had that exact issue before with floaty trees, so I know where you're coming from. And Andrew says the painting is interesting. Okay, I'm quite interested to see it. It's good that you guys are having a go. It's really, really great. And this is something you can try again and again, because I think that after I've done this, I can save it so that you can watch the YouTube video back and have another go. I need to sort this camera out because it's pointing the wrong way. Let's try that. Okay. So hopefully you've got some trees that look like they're in front of trees that are further away. And if you don't, that's fine. We can work with that. Right. I'm going to do the ground. I keep turning around to get my palette, but what I'm doing is getting a nice dark thick colour, and I've got this quite nice almost emerald kind of green going on, which I quite like. That's because it's got quite a lot of that bright yellow in. And I'm going to hold my paintbrush further back than, oh, on the camera please, further back than usual, and just swipe that along the bottom. Also helps that I'm a little bit nervous about being on camera, and that helps it be a bit of a shaky line. So just imagine you're being filmed live on YouTube. That will help. And we've got 43 people watching as well. That's giving me a very shaky ground line. It's great that you're all here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. I'm quite happy with that, I think. So Rosie's going to be rewatching. Right, so Rosie says, I think I should have just watched first time. I've just worked out I can't watch and do. Yeah, that's common. And Sarah says she's just dropped her paintbrush onto her work. It's good to hear that I'm not the only one doing silly things like losing my paintbrush in my palette and stuff like that. That's good. We're all human, so that's helpful. Okay. So, okay. Going to move back onto my prepared painting, my Blue Peter painting. Kind of reluctant to lean it up against there again because I made a mistake last time. What can I do if I put some masking? No, that's not going to work. Just want to shield it. Oh, I don't know. I just have to hold it. There we go. So actually, the trees in the front dry a lot quicker than the background would have taken to dry. So I'll give you a close-up view of that one. So you can see you got the nice trees in the front. I really like this one, leaning over there. So that's really cool. But if you look at the one that I did in preparation, there's a few things that I'll point out. One is that there's some darker lines on the front trees, and the other is that I've got this like speckly effect, and I don't know if you can quite see that. I'll try holding it up a bit closer. Yes, so you've got a little speckly effect, and I kind of added that almost as a little bit of a, it was just sort of, it came to my head and I just thought, oh yeah, I'll do that. It was quite impulsive, that's the word. I was quite impulsively doing that. But I'll show you how to do it because I quite like it. It almost looks like little leaves floating around in the wind, perhaps. So we'll go with that. But I'll show you how to get the detail onto the trees as well. I think what we'll do is we'll do the speckly paint first and then the detail over the top so that the speckles sort of stay in the middle before the final layer. So pop that one down. I'll show you how to do these speckles. This is quite fun. So
Same deal again, I've got my same two colours. I'm going to add a bit more of my blue onto my palette again. Going through it so fast. There we go. And I'm going to load up quite a lot of paint onto my brush. And while I'm doing this as well, because it does need to be on the brush, I'm sort of spinning the bristles around in the paint to make sure it's all over the brush. And it's quite therapeutic to do, even if you don't end up using it. I sometimes do this with palettes after the end of a painting when I don't need the colours anymore. I'll mix them around, have a play, see what happens. Okay. So I now have a brush with a lot of paint on it, and this is the technique. So I'm going to hold my hand like a fist just below the painting. At this point I need to warn you that if you've got anything that you don't want to have paint on, don't do this yet. Wait until you put some paper down or something like that. So I'm going to hold the brush right at the end and I'm going to hit it against my hand like that. Now you can see that I ended up with a big blob going down. That's fine. We're just going to just hitting my knuckles with the paintbrush, just tapping. And what it'll do is send those little droplets of paint flying onto the page like that. And don't overdo it because it will look a little bit too speckly, but a little bit of speckles is a good thing, I think. So I'll show you how to sort out if this has happened to you. You can go in there straight away and just pull them out, get them out of the way, and pull them across your tree, or make a new tree out of them. It's up to you. There we are. So I hope nobody just ruined their really lovely tablecloth or anything like that, because I don't know what I would do about that. I'd be very guilty. Okay, so now I've got my speckles on. I'm pleased with that. I'm getting some more of this turquoisey colour, which I like, and I'm getting again a really nice dark version of it. And now that I know those trees are dry, I'm just going to paint on some lines, and I try to do it fairly quickly, because if you try and slow down too much, you can get a little bit almost too precise, and you end up with trees that look like, I don't know, they've been drawn with rulers. And obviously, as we know, trees are very natural, curvy things which don't really conform to our straight, perfect lines that we like to do. So try and move the paintbrush fairly quickly, but so somewhere in between, medium speed. There we go. So I'm going to do that onto my nice wonky tree, which I like. Lots of little lines. I'm leaving some of the paint behind it showing, just so that you've got like a little bit of a variation going on in those trees. And again on this little guy here. I quite like how it's quite instantly turns them into things that you feel like you know what they'd feel like if you touched them, like the texture's there. So also my face is like covering up the painting. Technical issues that we don't have when we're painting in Ocean Studios. And my face getting in the way. There we go. Okay, so this is my half blue, half green tree, which also got blobbed earlier on when I did the splashy thing. Nobody has said that they have ruined anything. Okay, so I've had a few questions. So I'm really enjoying joining in with you. How often will the Watercolour Club be live? That's a really good question. Today is kind of a test to see if I can do this. I thought I'd be really, really super nervous, and I kind of am, but I've relaxed into it a little bit. So I'd like to do it regularly if people are enjoying it and want to tune in. So I guess hopefully it could be at least once a month, because that's how often I run the Watercolour Club in person. So hopefully once a month, unless everybody's not enjoying it, but hopefully you guys are. So I'm just carrying on adding the texture into my trees. I'm almost there, I think. What I might do after this one is show you what would happen if I started with blue and red, like I showed you earlier, that purple colour, and we'll see what happened. Let's see, my mum's banned from speckles since she's sitting on my bed. That's wise, Yenna, to do that. I think you'd wake up with speckles all over you. Yeah, no, that's understandable. The speckles are purely optional. I know they're very exciting. And Ben is saying enjoying this load, so that's really, really good. And I hope you're enjoying your bacon sandwich too, Ben. That does sound nice. There we go. Well, I think I'm quite pleased with that. Let's see what it looks like from a distance. Now, actually, that is a good point that I should probably say. Quite a lot of the time when I'm at Ocean Studios and I'm walking around everybody painting, let's make it so you can see me rather than... Yeah, so when I'm walking around the tables and I'm trying to chat to people about what they're doing, sometimes people really, really don't like what they've done. And I've walked up to the table going, wow, that's amazing. That person's done an amazing job. They've never painted before. They've done that. That's great. And they don't like it. And the reason they don't like it is because they've been staring at it like this for the whole hour. And when you look at a painting like that for an hour, you're going to find yourself not liking it. So I recommend to you, once you've got to a point where you think I might be done, hold it away and have a little look at it from a distance, or get somebody to hold it from across the room, because if you're hanging a painting on a gallery wall, that's where you're going to see it from. You're not going to see it up here unless you were really, really curious and you really wanted to know how they'd done a specific bit, but most of the time you see it from a distance like that. And I can guarantee you'll probably like it more than you did if you don't like it. So that is a tip. I think a lot of people forget to do that and then think they can't paint, but they've never really given themselves a chance. So Rosie says, is it best to paint on a board at an angle like you rather than flat on the table? I'm a complete beginner, can you tell? Okay, that's a really good question. So I'm painting upright like this, and that is for a couple of reasons. The first one, so this is quite a new board for me. I got it beginning of the year, I think. I did a painting last year that I really enjoyed doing, and it was a train, and the detail was so fine, and I think I did it for like 8 hours or something like that, and I was so into it. But what I was doing is it was on the table and I was bent over like that, and I didn't realise until I stopped like quite how much I had bent over. So I got this board just to raise it up so that when I'm painting I can sit up straight, which is better for my back. Saying that though, I do have this on the lowest, well, I think it's the second lowest setting. Yeah, second lowest setting there. So it is still quite flat. And that is because if you paint upright like that with watercolour, it's just going to drip down. And I did have a little bit of that at the beginning of this. The other reason I'm using a board is that it's easier to get the camera to see what I'm doing. So that's another reason. I don't always paint upright for that reason that sometimes it drips. But if you're prone to a bad back, it's probably better to paint on something a little bit raised. And I have seen people do it where they tape, so this is just a piece of cardboard. So if you tape your painting onto a piece of cardboard, you could just prop it up against some books or something like that. So that is a way of doing it if you find that it's uncomfortable. But in terms of technique, I don't think it's much different than painting flat on a table like that. I hope that helps. Let's have a look. Okay. Oh, Billy's here. Hi, Billy. Oh, that's good to hear that you're pleased with your painting. That's really good. Did you hold it away from your face to check? Because that's good. Right. So I'm back onto my my painting that I started in this video, and I'm just going to finish it off with the speckles and the detail, and then I've got an important trick to show you about getting this masking tape off for anybody that has stuck theirs down. So don't do that yet until I've shown you, unless you know the technique from me showing you at Watercolour Club. Okay, so putting my blue back on. This is, oh yes, I've forgotten to do the thing. There we go. So I'm going to spin my brush around in the paint. This is the speckly bit, this is the messy bit. Make sure you've got newspaper down if you don't already. I don't, but I have a board that I don't mind getting paint on. Watercolour does wash off. It's not like acrylic where it is forever. So if you do get it on your clothes or if you do get it on your table, it is fine. It will wash off in the washing machine. It won't come off of anything that's paper. That would be quite annoying. If it got on a book or something, that would be sad. So I've got lots of paint on my brush. I hold my hand like a fist and I'm going to tap it on my knuckles. There we go. I've got a few blobs that I want to sort out, so I just pull those away. There we go. I think it just adds a little bit of interest to the painting. A little bit of detail. Okay, so I've mixed myself, I don't know if you saw that, mixed myself a nice little emerald green for my detail on the trees. And I'm going to start adding that in. Remember to move the brush quite nice and quickly and leave some of that paint from behind peeking through. And that's the point of this paint that you're putting on, is just to add a little bit of definition, a little bit of clarity to these trees so that they look like they're closer to you. As you know, as things get further away, it's harder to see the individual leaves and the individual branches of the trees. Oh, so Andrew said the earlier question about art to keep you busy, writing's been good. And your poetry group's live streaming for our monthly meetings, that's brilliant. That's really, really good and really helpful. I think things like writing are perfect for this kind of environment, isn't it? Because you're sort of forced to have a bit of isolation and forced to really think about things. So it's a little bit like, so Andrew and I went to a writing retreat when we were both at school called Avon. I think that's right, isn't it, Andrew? I'm sure you were there. And it's out in the middle of, I think it's in Dartmoor, and you get no internet connection, and you get very limited contact with the outside world. Really, you're on this like beautiful farmhouse. Everyone stays there for a week, and it's actually incredible what you manage to get done. And I always came away from those writing retreats with so many ideas, not just painting, but not just writing, but painting and art as well. And it just feels, it feels almost, I mean, obviously there's this whole anxiety that's going on behind the scenes as well, but it feels like a similar setting that we have to stay inside. We have to find creative ways of keeping ourselves busy when we're used to having so much other stuff going on. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's a sad situation, but at the same time we can try and be creative about getting around it. So Hannah's been doing some embroidery and a bit of doodling and drawing. That's brilliant. Yeah, and she has finished her painting and it's not too bad. Thank you for the live tutorial. I'm glad you have enjoyed it. You have to send me a photo, Hannah, of what you managed to do. It's brilliant. Okay, so I feel like I've got the detail on there. Okay, so re-getting masking tape off of your drawing. So if you have taped it down and you've finished, the urge is going to be to rip this masking tape off really quickly and see what it looks like. I can tell you now that might not go to plan. So I'm going to show you how I take masking tape off my paper. I do still sometimes get this wrong. The most important thing is that the paper is dry. So, and it has to be dry around the edge of where the masking tape is. If it's not, then it is likely to rip off that first bit of paper, because watercolour paper is built in layers. Well, all paper is, but watercolour paper particularly has got a layer over the top that is very easy to rip. So when I'm taking tape off my drawing, I find I've deliberately left this really nice big flappy bit, and what I do is I pull it so it's at a right angle. Mine's coming off really nice and easily. You just pull it at a right angle. There we go, it's come off. Get rid of that bit. I have the luxury of being able to turn this one, so I'm going to make use of that. So I'm holding the paper with my thumb just to give it a little bit of extra resistance, and then just remember to pull it at an angle, so you're pulling it away from that painting, and it gives you a lovely sharp line. This is so satisfying. Now that one's under that piece of masking tape, so I'm just going to spin it again. Use it as a lever. Now the other trick to know, if you have a hairdryer, if you give it a blast of a hairdryer, even when it's dry, what that does is it melts some of the adhesive, and it makes that tape easier to take off. So just take it off, and it's free. I have got my painting, and I haven't torn it, so that's really good. So hopefully, if you've taped yours down, let me get this on the camera. There we go. So you've got a lovely sharp line, and the only thing left to do is to sign it. I like to sign mine with a pen, if I can find it. It's behind me. That pen will do. So I like to sign mine with a little pen. I'm going to do it in this bottom corner. And it is done. Finished. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to pull it off. So even though I went round the edge, and I know I did because I remember doing it really anxiously all the way around, I've still got this little bit of a spill at the top. So you can see a little bit. I don't know if you can actually. You see like a little bit has gotten under. I've learned to love those little things. They happen quite often. I've stuck to me. Put it down. Okay, last one. I think this one's going to be the one that tears, if any of them. There we go. Okay. So, just show you something. Mine tore a little bit, not on the actual painting. I don't know how to do it. But just there in that corner, I don't know if you can see that, a little bit has gone up. So what I do if that happens to me is I get a little bit of water on a clean brush, and I don't know, if your water's really dirty it might not work. Yeah, it's going to do it to mine. But it just pushes that bit of paper down and then it makes it harder to see. Just make sure you're doing that with a clean brush and clean water, and then you can just sort of push the paper back. A little bit of a save if you have ended up tearing your paper. And then the bit where you sign it. There we go. Two little trees. So there we go. So what's going on the comments? Let's have a look. So Jack is trying to learn to draw in the absence of travelling and seeing things, people, environments, and to help with painting. That's good. Yeah, I think a lot of people are choosing to learn a new skill, which is really nice. I think there's a lot of talk about people learning new languages, things like that. So that's a really good idea. But learning to draw, that's really nice. And actually there's some really good tutorials on YouTube which start from a very basic level and take you up to all sorts of skills. And also practice makes perfect. So if you're drawing the same scene every day, maybe from your window, makes it a little bit more exciting if you're seeing the progression of your skills. And we'll all have something to show for 3 months stuck at home. So Andrew says, I think I'd better stop mine now, else I'll be painting mush. It's turned out better than expected. I'm really glad it has, Andrew. Definitely send me a picture of that. And Zoe says, I use a hairdryer to heat up the tape before pulling it. Yes, yeah, exactly. I think I said that, but yes, that's a definite bonus because it does make it have a little bit less of a pull. And Gemma wishes she'd use masking tape. It is a really satisfying edge. I quite enjoy the bit of taking the tape off. Sometimes I leave like a natural watercolour edge on paintings. It kind of depends what I fancy at the time when I do it. Billy's put a date on his as well. That's a really good idea. I think anything that we produce in this next few months actually could be quite historical. Like I can imagine museums being open. It's like this painting was done during the isolation from the virus in 2020. Sarah says, I think I did my background trees too small and you can't see them much. Yeah, I had that issue with the first time I tried this. I painted over the trees I'd done in the background. So, yeah, and Joe says next time I would move my trees further down so I have less ground. Yeah. I think, it's good. Because you could put another layer of trees. And Yenna's added more trees to make the forest taller to blend in those floating trees. Very dense forest now. That's okay. Dense forest is fine. And probably very, very good for the environment. More trees, more oxygen for us. So it's all good. So, Gemma's done 3. That's amazing. Oh, and Ellen has just figured out the comments, been painting along, posted images on Facebook. Oh, brilliant. Okay, I can't wait to see those. I have 2 screens going at the moment, so I probably can't add a 3rd screen, but as soon as this is over, I'll certainly be looking at those and seeing what you guys have all been up to. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to do another one using that purple combination that I did earlier. So if you guys want to mix yourself some new paint, that would be cool. I would probably normally change my water from how it's quite green, but I think I'm gonna leave it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. but what I'll need to do is wash off my palette. So I use just a little cloth. It's a bit horrible actually, I've had that for years. I'm just gonna wipe my palette clean like that. I do also sometimes take the paints out of the tin and wash it in under the tap. There we go. A little bit washed. And I'm going to get a bit of kitchen roll. And wipe it away. There we go. That is how to clean a palette when you are on a live stream. Okay. Right. Where should we send pics, says Sarah. Send me pictures to either my Facebook page, or you can send them to my email, which actually what I think I will do is just literally write that down in the comments so that you guys can see it. So it is eleanor@eleanorbreak.co.uk. Hopefully that works. So pasting that up. So that's my email address. So if you'd like to send me your work, that would be amazing. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to tape up my piece just like last time. I've also forgotten to click that button. There we go. So it should be on the screen now. So I don't know what colours everybody's going to go for next, but the three primary colours are red, yellow and blue. And if you pick any of those two colours, then you'll end up with a colour in the middle, which would be in between them. So for example, you could use yellow and red and you would get orangey kind of trees and things like that, which might look quite autumnal. I'm going for purple. I've never seen a purple tree, but in art you can do anything, so that's fine. So Hannah has to go and make lunch now, but thank you so much. That's okay, Hannah, anytime, and hopefully I can't wait to see what you managed to do during this video. See you soon, hopefully. Okay. Now we get to find out how dirty my water really is. It's quite dirty. Oh well. Okay, so, oh yes, I haven't got my paints ready. So, my brush. Here we go. This time, I'm going to use this colour here, which is the ultramarine blue, and this colour here, which is the quinacridone rose. And these are the paints by Daniel Smith. So you might not have the same ones in your palette, but if you're going to go for a purple colour, I would go with a rosy kind of red, so like a pinker kind of red, and the blue, which is almost closest to it, just because if you use one with too much yellow in, you'll get the same problem of the purple ending up looking a little bit almost brown. So here we go. So I'm going to get a little bit of the red. This is a beautiful colour, by the way. If you're ever thinking of investing in really nice watercolour paints, this set by Daniel Smith is quite pricey, but I bought it with Christmas money, so I think that justifies it. But they're beautiful paints. And this is, I think it's called the Ultimate Mixing Set, so it has a bit of everything in it that you need to mix colours, which is really nice. I'm going to get a bit of that ultramarine blue, and you can see how stunningly pigmented these paints are. I really do like them. Before these paints, I used to use Arteza paints, which they're really good, and I think they're only about £30 for a full set of almost 36 colours. So if you want like to have loads of different colours, then that's a really nice set. So it's Arteza. I actually have them in a drawer down here. Yeah, Arteza. And I don't know how messy this is going to be, by the way. Really messy. So I didn't put these away very well. I just, but they're really good paints for anyone thinking of starting out. So because I think Amazon is still delivering right now. I don't know how long that's going to go on for, but if you're going to invest in some paints but you don't have a massive budget, that's a really good set. You can also get some which have less paints in them, less colours, and it's a little bit cheaper. So yeah, so that's my recommendations. Those colours are really nice. I still do get these out occasionally because they have some colours in that my palette at the moment doesn't have. Also, my brother says, from a proud brother, you're doing a great job. I've not been painting along, but I've enjoyed watching. Where are your cats? Okay, so my cats are not allowed in here at the moment, and they're very sad about that. I can hear them crying at the door because I have a feeling they would pull out all these wires. I spent quite a long time setting that up. Right. Unfortunately, this water is just not going to do it for me. So I'm going to have to be right back and with some fresh water. So if your water looks similar, now is a good time to go and refresh your water. So I will be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. Andrew says stream the cats. I will. As soon as I've got to a safe point, I will bring them in on a very controlled way and show you my lovely cats, which are very sad. I've just went out to go and get the water, and they're not looking very happy out there. I've also lost my paintbrush again. Well, how do I keep doing this? Oh, there it is. Haha. Gotcha. Right. Okay. So, where were we? So, I have some nice fresh water. Brilliant. That does help. And I have on my palette some red and some blue. And I'm going to pop the water, on the background, just like I did last time. Top to bottom. That is much better. Yeah, had I done that with the water I had before, it would have just gone green instantly, and then that would have been really sad. Okay, so I'm now going to take, some blue from this side. So it's this blue here that I was using, and I'm going to pop it up the top for a nice blue sky, and I'm also going to put it at the bottom, just to remind us where the floor is on our paintings. There we go. Okay. And now this is the bit where we want to do those lovely background trees. So I'm going to start to blend these colours together, and it makes that lovely bluey purple colour. Really pleased with that. I'm going to get some more blue though, because I think, that's better. There we are. So that lovely purple colour. And while the background is still wet, I can pop that on. So line down, and then you're wiggling that paint across like that. Pick up the colour again, line down, wiggle that paint down, and just remember to keep them all different sizes, different colours by picking up paint from different parts of that palette. Pardon me. Down we go. So is anyone trying a purple forest at the moment? So this is how to avoid the floaty trees, by the way, is just bringing that paint quite far down. So when we start to put the ones on front, those are in the background. Okay. So who's still painting? It's all gone very quiet in the chat. There's been so many people here today. It's just amazing. So I'm at that point where I can't now touch this because it is still wet and it's going to take a little bit of time to dry. But that's okay because we have quite a lot of time. Let's flip that back. So Andrew and Ellen and Billy, you're still painting. That's brilliant. I'm actually quite pleased with the colours here, with the blue and purple. I've not actually tried this yet, so it's a little bit of a we'll see what happens situation. On another note, has anyone forgotten to have their hair cut before all this happened? Because I feel like at the end of all of this, that's going to be a problem. Might have to tie my hair back, and it might be really long. I feel like I don't want to attempt to cut it myself. So Mum's doing purple trees, and Yenna has gone for an autumnal scene with the sunset. Oh, brilliant! Okay, that's great. Jack's still painting. Hayley is just watching because she needs more paper. That's sad to hear, Hayley. Hopefully you can get hold of that paper. Loving all the comments coming in about hair. Goodness. Oh dear. Oh well, at least we're all in it together. So I'm imagining a lot of you have gotten to the point that I'm also in, which is that this is drying and I'm desperate to do that next layer. So if that's you, because it's me, I might do some practicing of those trees on a fresh piece of paper, which I know is dry. Actually, maybe not a clean one. Let's have a look what I've got here. Nope, apparently I haven't got any of my... Oh, there they are. It's all fine. It's just I don't have everything where it normally is, so it's... So, I've got a scrappy bit of watercolour paper here, which is nice to practice on. So if you've got that, then you could possibly have a little go just to stop you working on this one. Sometimes what I do is do a few paintings at the same time. So have one drying while I'm working on the next one. That can make things confusing. So sometimes you forget where you got to with each painting. So try to do something a little bit different. So let's go back to that view. I'm going to have a play with my purple that I've got here. Wonder how many guys are thinking what they would look like bold. That is a solution, I suppose. I don't think I'd look very good bold. There we go. I'm just going to have to wear my hair in a really long ponytail. Eventually my fringe will be long enough to go back. It's almost there. Right. So on my little piece of dry paper, I'm just going to practice doing those trees, which could be a good use of your time. I'm going to leave that like that, so you can see some gaps that came through that I was about to just go through and sort out. But I'm not going to. I'm going to leave them because I actually think they're quite nice. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely quite fun to do. And it's just showing off how beautiful these colours are as well. It's really nice. Definitely recommend this palette. There's a few, I'll show you, a few colours in this palette that I really like. One of them is, it really doesn't look good in the actual palette itself, but it's this, it's this one here, third one along, and it's called Quinacridone Gold, and I'll show you why. So I've got it on my brush at the moment. Paint, look at that. It's like a, and then if you add water to it and you let it go, it's just like this beautiful yellow colour. Anyone who knows me will know how much I like yellow. This is like a version of yellow. If you add that colour to any like a green colour or even like a grey, if you're doing like a building, it just looks like it's been hit by the sun. It is like a sunbeam yellow. So that's Quinacridone Gold by Daniel Smith. This is my little colour chart. Yeah, Quinacridone Gold. Yeah. I think that there are other brands that make it. I think Winsor & Newton do a version. I've not tried that. But you can buy the colours separately. So if you're looking for a really beautiful colour, maybe go with that, because that's really, really nice and really mixes in with colours, especially for people doing sunsets and things. Yenna says you were there when I went bold. I was. I had forgotten that happened. That's amazing. So Yenna shaved off all her hair for charity, and I was part of that event. That was incredible. Your hair's normal length now. Jack was shaven headed before all this started. What will it be at the end though, Jack? I wonder. And Andrew said he almost made an ill-advised attempt at growing a beard. Yeah. Yeah, and Tom says these are some really beautiful colours. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I got these paints because I was recommended. I was looking up lots of different ones to get, like, to move up from sort of standard paints to professional kind of paint. And so I was looking at all sorts of guides, and I came across this blog where someone was, let's do this so that you can see me, where somebody was talking about all the different sets that were available, and I can't remember her name, but I think she's quite involved now with Daniel Smith Paints, and she actually helped to develop one of the colours in this palette, which is called Jane's Grey. So I know her first name's Jane, I can't remember her second name. But yeah, so she was recommending it, and she was involved in putting together this palette, and trying to choose all these colours that people need when they're painting different things. So this set of colours contains kind of everything that you would need painting most things. But Daniel Smith Paints do like sets which are aimed towards different kinds of painting that people do. So people that paint flowers might go for like that set of colours. For more sort of botanical paintings, close-ups and things like that. And then deserts and mountains, you go for those kinds of colours there. So yeah, highly recommended. But I do find it fun to, when I first got this palette, I found it quite hard to adapt, because in the Arteza palette you've got, like, all the colours are there, so you can quite quickly put things together. Whereas with this, you have to work out how to get from one to the other, and sometimes it's not as straightforward as it should be, like with like 3 primary colours, because some of them are mixed together in different ways. So you can mix. There's a few different yellows and a few different blues, and you mix them all. They make completely different colours. So it's quite fun to play around with that, and even with no, like, not actually trying to do a painting at all, but just literally mixing things around on the palette, or painting onto just scrap bits of paper. I do a lot of it, sort of got a few versions here, like trying different things out. That was one of my practice attempts for this video, or like having a look at what those purples could do. So it's that kind of thing. It's quite good fun, and it helps you to explore, if you do get a new palette, what you can achieve with that. Have I rambled enough to make this dry? Almost. I might go with it. I might regret that, but I'm going to go with it. Okay. Okay. Right, let's flip this back to the standard view. Okay, zoom in a bit. Purple trees, here we come. So, popping my purple and blue together, pink and blue together. My nice purple. Okay, and I'm going to leave the tops of these trees peeking out so that the trees come down a bit further. And then down to the side, get more paint. And I'm going to leave that rough texture this time. I'm not going to try and fill that in, I'm just going to leave it. Pop one in there. More paint. So out of interest, how regularly do people think something like this should happen? Bit of market research. Because I guess if I do it too frequently, it might not be as fun. And also it gives you time to practice in between. But then maybe if it's too far apart, then you'll all get bored with nothing to do. I don't know. Just have to let me know what you think. I'm doing all these trees at different angles and just having a little play with the colours as I put them down. Quite pinky there. That's quite good. It's a skinny tree. I'm going to leave it like a skinny tree. I'm happy with that. Okay. And then for the ground. So monthly would be great. Yeah, I think monthly sounds like a good plan. There we go. I have got my paint on my brush for the ground, and I'm going to do the thing where I hold it right at the end and let it go along the bottom. A little bit more water just to make it go a bit further. A little bit more paint because it was too weak. It's trying to find the balance, isn't it, between like too much water, too much paint. There we go. And that all comes with time. I'm definitely still learning how this all works, and I think it all comes from just playing around. And Ellen says she's signing off now. Many thanks. Liking my second one better, less controlled. Monthly would be great and affordable. Good. Good. Thank you for tuning in, Ellen. That's brilliant. There we go. Quite pleased with that. Cool. So I've got to let that layer dry now. So usually when I run these sessions at Ocean Studios, I charge people £5. And the reason I do that is because I let people use my paints and my paper and everything like that, so they have access to it. So that, for that reason, this is free, and it's totally free for anyone who wants to join in, because I know how much this has affected everybody. There's been people losing income, people losing their jobs, and yet the bills sort of keep coming. So I do understand where people are at, and I would like this to be really accessible. But with that in mind, I've also set up a donation thing for anyone that thinks that they would like to contribute. If this is something that's helped you, and if you're in a position where sparing something towards this is something you can do, I'd be so grateful for that, because I'm in a good position myself because I work at a school. So that income hasn't stopped. They're still paying me for that. But I also do a lot of other art stuff as part of my daily life, where I get paid. I run the Watercolour Club, which is a little bit of income to replace supplies and things like that. And a lot of that has now stopped, so a lot of the events that I was going to do have been postponed. So I have set up a donation link, which is in the description of this video. And it's on my website, and it goes to donate, and you can read through and see what I'm saying there. But essentially, what I've done for this in this situation is that if anybody is able to donate more than £5 or £5 at least, I would then send you a postcard to say thank you. And I'm designing those postcards. They would be extremely limited edition, hopefully, hoping this doesn't go on forever. But they would be for anyone that was able to support my practice and also support Watercolour Club during this downtime. So if you would like a postcard, and if you're in a position that you could spare £5 towards it, then please click on the link and have a think about what you could afford. But I really want to stress that is only if you are in a position to be able to. And if you're not, I don't want you to feel guilty about that. I want you to access these videos and paint along with me, and that's fine. You're welcome, and I totally understand. So thank you for anyone that does decide to do that, but also thank you to anyone who can't and who just wants to tune in, because just keeping me company and just keeping me doing this stuff is really helpful to me as well. So that's my little announcement to you. Okay, I think we're nearly ready to put the sparkles on this. Okay, so just going to get some paint on my bristles, spinning it round. It's the messy bit now. That was the best I've done it so far today. Okay, so now I'm going to pop the detail onto my purple trees. It's almost time to get the cats in, I think. Actually, I quite like on this one how the trees at the back have totally blurred into the background. I think I did them quite quickly while the paper was really wet, and that can cause that to happen, and I quite like it. It's almost mysterious. You see how quickly I'm moving my brush now. I think because this is my third one I've done today, as you get used to it, you sort of get used to the motion that you do with your paintbrush. There we go. All right. Time to release this one from its masking tape prison. Oh, yeah, you can see what's happened there. There's a little bit of purple has escaped, but that's okay. There we are. And now I should have a little set. I haven't signed it yet. I haven't signed this one either, which I did before. Little set of paintings. Okay, let's get my pen out, wherever that went. Oh, I've lost it again. What? It's going to be the theme of this live stream is I've lost everything. Right, that's that one. That's that one. So, they balance. Cool. So that is my paintings. I'm really hoping that everybody's managed to get something that they're really pleased with. As promised, I'll go and see if I can find a cat. So they were fast asleep, so I did have to wake them up. But this is the big one, this is Finley. He's possibly the naughtiest of the two, so he is the one that's most likely to rip out all my cables while we're live on YouTube. The other one has just walked away, so I have to get him. And this is Feathers. Just realised that I was on like the other screen, so you didn't see Finley very well. Yeah, they're both quite tired actually because they exhausted themselves scratching at my door, trying to get in because they're normally allowed in here while I'm painting, unless I get fed up with them knocking things off and distracting me. Yes, it's no, they're quite good now because they're all sleepy, so that's fine. So, how did everybody get on? And so there's a few people signing off. And so Yenna says, I've really enjoyed this. Without something like this, I just don't really do art in my free time, so I'm very appreciative. Usually work Saturdays, so I won't always be able to join it live. Yeah. Yes, so that was kind of the point when I started up Watercolour Club, is that I felt like there was probably a lot of people who are in a similar situation to me where you maybe don't get a chance to do painting as part of your everyday life. And I think that more people should. I think that we kind of leave it behind once we've left school. A lot of people sadly, a lot of people get told at school that they're not good enough to take art as a GCSE or something, which I think is really sad. I work at a school as an art technician, and I'm really conscious of that, especially like the lower years where they come into school in year 7. They're usually very, very creative, and then as they get older, they start to doubt themselves a little bit more. And I try to be conscious of the fact that they're all they're trying like their best. I mean, some of them have no interest in art from the start, but the I can remember back at school the drawings that I worked hard on that I got told weren't good enough and I had to redo. So I think comments like that will stay with people for the rest of their lives. And I do speak to a lot of people that were told they were no good at art, and so they believe they're no good at art. But I think, like anything, it's just about having time to practice and to have a go and to not get frustrated, which is probably the hardest bit to get used to, is the idea that you could actually paint something and be happy with the end result, and that's okay. You're allowed to be happy with what you've created. And I think, especially in England, we tend to be like too humble, I suppose. And we just, like, if somebody goes, "Oh, that's a really good painting," you go, "Oh, it's not. I don't like that bit about it." And yeah, I've got to stop doing that as people, I think. See, my cat has just come up to touch all the masking tape that I've just pulled off. He loves that stuff. He gives some. Wondering if anyone's already sent me any pictures, because it'd be cool to see them. I've had a few messages. I can't read them all because it involves taking up another screen. But thank you so much, everybody, for sending me things in and for me to look at. I will reply to you. I will send you messages back. If you're still watching, if you'd like to send me pictures of what you've done, pictures of you having a go, let me know if you're happy for me to use those at all. I might make like a little compilation post just to say thank you and show what we got up to in our collective bedrooms around around the UK, around the world even. I don't know if there's anyone tuning in from abroad, but we'll have to see. Yen is loving her second one. Brilliant. That is the attitude to have. I'm so glad that you love it. So, closing thoughts. Does anyone have any final questions or things, like ideas that you might like to have a go at next time? Things like that. Let me know in the live chat, or I think if you've been watching and you don't know how to chat, I think you have to make sure you're signed in, and I think that way you can add a little comment if you haven't already. But there have been, just checking I've not missed any. I did miss my mum's comment, which was, "Your painting is inspirational and I have loved watching you. We'll be here next time." Thanks, Mum. This is so great. I think I was sort of wondering if this would work or whether it would be a little bit too constricted, being sort of stuck between bits of technology. But actually, I think it's working quite well. It's just about adapting, isn't it, to the new situation that we're finding ourselves in. And if we have to do a few watercolour clubs like this, I think that's fine. They've just had some pictures come in as a message onto to my artist page. That's brilliant. That's a really good way of doing it. So on Facebook, I am Eleanor Brake Artist. my internet is very slow because of the streaming that's going on, so I don't know if I'll be able to load it up. I have a cat invading. Let me switch so you can see this live. One cat invading the live stream area. Might need to evict him. No, I'm just going to see what he decides to do. Yeah, my cats are so curious. This is why I had to have the door shut. And they were so sad because they were missing out on everything happening. Let me see. So Tom says, this has been a really lovely way to spend the afternoon. Looking forward to the next one. Oh, thank you, Tom. I hope everything's going well for you. Tom is one of the people who comes regularly to Watercolour Club. So it's really good to see that you're tuning in and still painting. Hopefully with your new paints as well. It's quite good. Let's evict this little cat. Yes, I've really enjoyed this as well because it's a little bit strange because I'm just talking and not really, I'm just listening to my own voice, but actually having the comments coming through as well has been really nice. So that's really good, and thank you for interacting. I'm sort of watching because I've got the screen up and there's a little bit of a delay in terms of when I say something, when you guys see it. I've just seen myself evicting Finley from the table, which is quite a sight. So what I will do is I will post in the chat the link which goes to my website, which is here, and what that will let you do is see what I get up to, and that website doesn't involve my watercolour paints on there. It shows you all of the contemporary art that I do, and a little bit more about me. But also what you can find is the link to contact me, which is on the sidebar towards the bottom. So if you click on there, you'll find my email address in there, and you can send me a message. You can also follow me on Instagram, and you can follow my Facebook page, which is where I'll post updates about whether there's going to be a next one, which I think there definitely will be after the reception of this one. So keep an eye on that. And also right at the bottom of the sidebar is that button to donate. If you click on that, and you can read through why I'm asking for donations and what I will do in return, that would be amazing. You can pay through secure PayPal, so that is fine. And anything you can spare is amazing. And I do totally understand that people are in situations where they can't. So that was, I don't know if you heard that crash, but that was my cat deciding to knock everything off of the table over there. So it's all very, very exciting, isn't it? I don't usually. There's a couple of dogs, I think, that come. Is it two, or maybe it's just one dog that comes to Ocean Studios? But yeah, he doesn't normally do much in terms of knocking things off of tables and stuff. Whereas my cats are instantly naughty as soon as they come in the room. Yes, it's quite interesting having to live stream from a home environment rather than a studio. Apparently we've still got 25 people online. Are you guys just finishing off your drawings, or are you about to start again, or start? I mean, because you could carry on, you can keep going through this over and over if you want. Have an endless set of postcards at the end. That would be amazing. It would be really cool to see them all together. Maybe we should do, when this is all over, we should do some kind of exhibition of all the stuff that we managed to do, despite everything. Okay, I think I'm going to have to rescue my studio from my cats, which is it's currently getting trashed. But thank you everybody for tuning in and for painting along with me if you did, or for just watching. However you want to get involved, that is fine. I'll do some thinking about when the next one is likely to be, and choose a date. It's probably going to be a Saturday or a Sunday, which because I usually run it on a Sunday, so maybe I'll do a Sunday this time and see if that works. And if anyone has any thoughts or questions or anything that they wish they'd said, or maybe you didn't want to say publicly, please feel free to get in touch. I am quite I'm quite happy to engage in conversations over email, and sometimes I don't get the comments that come through on my Facebook. So if that is, if you sent me a message and I haven't found it yet, send an email as well, just to make sure I did see it. But I will keep checking that, because I know that people have been sending me messages. So yeah, so just send me stuff that you might be thinking about. If you come across something that you'd really like to be able to paint, and you don't know how or where to begin, then send me that, and then maybe when I'm planning this next tutorial thing, I'll take those comments on board, and I'll do something that people are thinking of doing. So yeah, hopefully you've got some new skills that you can use and make lots of nice cards for people perhaps, or just some nice paintings for people for presents. You can make a little collection, and at the end of this isolation we can go and give them out to everybody that we missed so much. That's my plan anyway. So thank you guys